2028, one Big Mac will equal $1 million. From the Gospel of John McAfee. Bro, just learn to code. The Project Freedom Podcast.
Boom. And welcome to the Project Freedom Podcast, episode number 32, where we discuss anything and everything that has to do with sovereign individualism and living a life of freedom. How are you tonight, fellas, in the chat? Let me check up and see who's in here. Clay Buster, good evening. Good evening to you too, sir. The Black Sheep, don't throw away the banana peels. Eat them. They are anabolic AF. Indeed, sir. Eat all of the banana peels. Sam saying yes sticker. Yes. What's good? What's the good word? The good word is the word of our Lord and Savior, Satoshi, Mr. Wade Emery. That is indeed the good word. Never stop going DGen. Orange pill emojis. Cootie Moose in the Hoos. Yo, what's up, guys? Virens 4 says, let's go. Indeed. All right, guys. What are we talking about today? What is the title? And the title indeed is Bitcoin Does Not Care. What do I mean by that? Well, a couple things actually, but and this is not like a new undiscoverable topic. I actually talked about this on the AMA last night briefly, but I figured, well, I wanted to originally do a whole episode on it and just kind of like this topic in general, because to me, this is fascinating. Even if it doesn't particularly come like to fruition, just the thought behind this is like pretty cool to me and interesting that we could have a technology that has a massive change in the world equivalent to, if not greater than, when the internet was released. Which, by the way, guys, like, first and foremost, before we even start talking about this kind of stuff, think about the internet right now. So it's 2021, the year 2021. Could you guys imagine like doing your daily tasks without the internet? For example, just like work in general. Most people in the United States are relatively like remote right now, meaning they don't have an office to go into, right? Ever since the VIRUS, everybody suddenly worked from home. If you're in IT, you might have probably worked from home even like prior to that. I know I was for about, I think, a year and a half before the incident. So I've been working from home for quite some time, right? So it's not like, for me, it's like a daily, it's just part of life, right? Like you wake up, you do work remotely, and yeah, right. And what else do we have that it's kind of like dependent, not kind of, it is dependent on the internet that we use daily. Some people, if not hourly or like every like 5 minutes. I mean, this thing right here, right? Cell phone service, a smartphone. These phones, they're not like the same kind of phones that we had when, at least when I was a kid, with like the whole like dial up, like had to, hard line the phone in, right? And think about how much you use your phone, how much you use the internet on a daily basis. It's like, it's an insane amount, right? Like this podcast right here, everything that I'm doing would not be in existence if it wasn't for the internet. On top of that, like the internet brought a lot of like, it brought some bad things, guys. Let's just be honest here. The internet brought some bad things into our life, but pretty much the entirety of like content creators, business, everything is all run from the internet, right? So, let alone, I mean, I can't sit here and like mark off like every single thing that the internet has done, because it pretty much, software and the internet in general kind of like has consumed almost the entire world, at least the world as we knew it prior to. Okay, and like there is no way that we could be living the same standard of life without the internet. All right, so now that we have that basis covered, that's the internet. And think about like having something equally big and beneficial that would literally or could literally change all of humanity as we know it. So much so to the point to where 10, 20 years down the road, everyone doesn't even think about it anymore. It's just a thing that's just natural and normal, right? Because again, with the internet, it's just like this natural, normal thing that we just deal with every single fucking day, right? So let's start getting into this, guys. All right. So I talked about this in the show last night. So I guess there's really no point in me going back to reading the entire thing. But essentially, guys, this man, Jason Lowry, he is employed at the U.S. Space Force. He is in school at MIT. Someone in the comments last night said supposedly so the Space Force is paying him to attend MIT for. I'm not sure what specifically he's attending MIT for, but again, guys, come on, it's MIT. It's like a technical. It's the technical school, right? Like if you go to MIT, you're extra cool, right? Also, apparently worked for the Air Force, from my understanding, and he's no spring chicken. He's been around for a while. He's a pretty smart guy. He gets into he made a post on LinkedIn, and he gets into this post, and basically he uses the analogy for how governments and countries run, kind of like establish, I guess you could say, dominance over an area of society based off of war. All right. It gets a little bit more complex than that, but inevitably he goes into comparing war to the proof of work network, the proof of work mining system on Bitcoin network, and the countries as miners. All right. And then he kind of makes a parallel, and he gets to this branch where he says basically, if Bitcoin is adopted as like a world standard of underlying payment settlement, like and again, guys, I know people want to argue with me about this all the time. I don't know the fucking answer to this question. All right, I don't know what's exactly going to happen, and this is all theoretical. Okay. But there are a lot of people who do believe that Bitcoin is going to be like basically could potentially be the underlying settlement layer for wealth in the world. All right. And what do we have right now? Right now we have basically just like the United States dollar, right? So all other countries, all other banks in other countries, their dollar is essentially pegged to our dollar. And what is our dollar backed off of? Well, it was originally backed off of gold, which kind of like allowed this whole thing to exist and work out, right? At least in like at least kind of like a crappy kind of way, right? But now we've removed that, our dollar is essentially just based off of debt. Okay. And thus, that has opened the entire planet up to a plethora of problems, which in reality, guys, no one was really even thinking or talking about this until recently. And the people that do think and talk about this kind of stuff, they're like orange pilled, right? They're not like average everyday people. Although average everyday people, I believe, are starting to realize that something about this economy is a little sus if you ask me. Okay. And so he makes the argument that essentially, if this happens, if and when this does happen, that this technology basically is a better war deterrent than any sort of multi-million, multi-billion, multi-trillion dollar anti-war deterrent that we currently have in the United States. Now, why is that? And essentially, guys, when I say technology, I'm literally referring to like having Bitcoin miners and nodes be ran in the United States, and then also adopting Bitcoin for whatever the fuck you believe Bitcoin's going to be used for in the future. So why is that? Because of the rules and strictly defined lines of which how one can operate and how the Bitcoin network operates in general. All right. So it has a total supply of 21 million. If you ever want to make any changes to the code, there needs to be a consensus of 51% or greater, which means everyone that is running these mines, which are ran all throughout, not mines, validators and nodes all throughout the world, all have to agree and vote on something at a certain period of time to have that code change done. So let's just say a nefarious entity in the future is like, oh, I'm just going to like make a bunch of Bitcoin nodes and I'm going to essentially make a code change to just print to increase the maximum supply of 21 million to like, I don't know, 42 million, all right, whatever, 400 billion, right? They wouldn't be able to do that unless they had 51% consensus. Now, I know what I actually did just say was that they were gonna the evil entity, the bad person, their like prognosis behind this whole thing was like, hey, I'm going to actually spin up a bunch of nodes and like take over the planet. I can't fully explain why that's pretty much an impossibility, and it's very and this more as time goes on, it's kind of like even harder and harder to do. But there is a guy named Matthew Crowder from a YouTube channel called Trader University, and he can explain that very well. But essentially, the amount of time that it would take for someone to do that would be like well over several years, and people would be aware that it was happening, right? Like it would basically know. Everyone in the whole network would be notified. And two, well, actually, I forgot the second reason. The second reason was actually more important than the first reason. But anyway, lo and behold, the 51% consensus. All right, so that needs to be a standard for this thing to happen. All right. And so what if that's not going to happen? So in all honesty, like obviously, if something's going to make a change, it's going to have to be something that's literally globally accepted, except for the areas in the world that don't use this thing, because then it wouldn't affect them, right? And most likely, those people, those areas, like let's just say they have like some other kind of form of wealth. You actually could go and attack these people physically with like, self-defense technology, self-defense tools, I guess we could say, on this channel. We got to be politically correct, guys, and just take their stuff, right? Now, why would adopting Bitcoin, running miners, running nodes and validators inside of your country be a war deterrent? Well, what if the person, what if the other country, other entity has a need to have access to some of your Bitcoin, either like monthly or yearly or whatever, right? If they came and dropped a giant, big, fat nuclear bomb on that country, would that just give them the Bitcoin? No. Right? Why is that? You can't just go and physically take someone's Bitcoin, right? You have to have access to their private keys, which can only be given to you by the person, and or you have to somehow hack the network in order to get that done, which we already know is pretty much an impossibility. If you guys know anything about the algorithm SHA-256, and I guess we could talk about that like one time or later. I don't know. That might be a little algorithms might be a little too geeky and complicated to talk about on this channel, but the chances of that actually happening. Sorry, let me take a step back, guys. In order to actually quote unquote hack into the Bitcoin network, the only way to actually do it that we know of so far, and I know guys are like, oh, but the quantum computing. All right, let's get to that in a second. All right, you have to basically do what's called brute force your way into what you want. All right, and what does that mean? What does brute force mean in computer science? Brute force essentially just means like if you're trying to break someone's password, the only way to do it is to have like some kind of software that runs over and over and over again, like a loop that runs this like this sequence of like guesses of random numbers and letters and character combinations over and over and over and over and over again until it gets the whole thing right. All right. Now, with the SHA-256 algorithm and other things inside of this protocol, like the chances of that like the math works, and I don't quote me, guys. The math works out to be like about like something like it would take about 100,000 years for that guess to be correct. And then in that case, you actually in that case you guessed you were able to hack in, I guess, like one node. There's really nothing you could do to like change consensus, and there's probably some more like nuanced stuff. I would have been cool to get Ryan from Elevate Cyber in here to talk about stuff like that, as far as like the security aspect goes. But point is, guys, in the actual realm of reality, it's most likely not going to happen, right? And so what would you have to do if you wanted to be able to get this other entity's Bitcoin? You'd have to convince them, right? You have to offer them something, a good or a service. And in actuality, if you were to go and destroy that country or that area or entity, whatever the fuck you guys want to, whatever you want to use, and you just basically essentially like destroyed everything that they have, you don't have access to their private keys anymore, then that Bitcoin would be pretty much gone for forever. And then there would be even less around. And then it would make it even more valuable and more harder for you to get. So it would just basically you'd be fucking yourself, right? And this whole thing is like pretty crazy, guys. Like this whole thing is like pretty crazy. And you get into it, it actually gets pretty deep. And this actually would have been a good stream for some tinfoil hat kind of stuff, right? But I'll read this part for you guys so you can make sense of it. So mutually assured preservation, a case for Bitcoin as the fourth leg of the U.S. strategic deterrence. Thesis is Bitcoin is a more powerful war deterrent protocol than mutually assured destruction, and one that is increasingly being adopted by society to restore its ability to achieve worldwide consensus on competing claims to the legitimate state of liberty and prosperity. As Bitcoin adoption accelerates, the U.S. should seriously consider Bitcoin mining as a candidate, quote-unquote, fourth leg to add to its existing strategic nuclear triad. All right, let's see what else. What else we got in here that's important? I think we blazed past this the other night when I was doing the stream. Let's see. Ford would replace gold with energy currency and stop wars. This is something. What that is? It says here's a rare and exclusive LinkedIn post that is actually interesting and thought provoking. Yeah, that's why, guys, I just want to talk about this tonight because it actually is thought provoking, right? It comes from Jason Lowry, a member of the U.S. Space Force, and it lays out Jason's thesis that Bitcoin could be a means by which humanity can usher in a worldwide peacetime. The nature of the Bitcoin network protocol, using proof of work consensus mechanism to fairly record and track ownership changes within its distributed ledger positions, to replace the predominant consensus mechanism used today to quote unquote validate the legitimate state of property as a chain of custody. So basically like war, right? So like if you're your country or whatever, and you like go and like just beat them in war and you just nuke everybody, it's pretty much like common knowledge. You like own, like you now have custody over that property, right? Militaries engage in physical warfare. Put another way, if humanity adopts a Bitcoin standard, all wars would end because we'd have a more peaceful way of determining the state of liberty / prosperity. All right. So what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about that? And there's some more stuff in here, I guess, and not super important. Not super important, at least for what we're talking about. So like, guys, like think about that. Think about all like if that's, because again, this is the thesis, right? This is just a thesis. Now imagine if that actually is true. Think about the benefit to humanity that would come from that. And we're not even talking about, we're literally not even talking about like the other benefits of not running off the current financial system that we have today, which is obviously just a Ponzi scheme from the CBs, if you guys know what I'm talking about. We're not even talking about all the other stuff, right? We're literally just talking about like bringing world peace. So when the maxis tell you guys and say so to people like Bitcoin is hope, Bitcoin is peace, like this is why. This is the actual reason why. It's not just because like, oh, like Bitcoin's so cool, dude. Like it's gonna bring world peace because it's just like it's orange, an orange good, right? All right, let me get caught up with the chat. Let me see what you guys are saying. Boom, baby. Hello, Cody Mouse says, "What's going on?" Oh wait, he's talking to you. Wait, excuse me. In Satoshi we trust. Amen. Yes, fucking indeed. In Satoshi we trust. Sup, killers. Antonio Espinaza says hello. T-Man Scott, society is now completely dependent on the internet. No going back. Yep. Yeah, man. Imagine that. Exponent Chill says, who owns the internet? Okay, let's that's actually a great question, Exponent Chill. Let's actually let me see if I can try to like explain that to you. All right, so let's look at this. Internet cable lines across the world. All right, let me see if I can try to explain this to you guys. Let us look at that. Let's look at an image. All right, boom. Boom. All right, my friend, let us talk about this. So, Exponent Chill says, who owns the internet? All right, to kind of try to answer this question, first we got to know what the internet really is, right? So the internet seems just like this thing. It basically appears wireless to us nowadays, right? Like the internet appears to be wireless because maybe you plug your computer in to a router, or maybe you're just using a laptop or a phone, right? Maybe you don't necessarily know that some of the lines on the poles outside have internet being carried on them, that there's fibers underneath the ground, literal fiber optic cables underneath the ground, all right, that send these signals back and forth. But in actuality, guys, as far as people want to say like the internet's like this like different realm of reality, the internet actually is bound to the physical realm, in the sense that the reason that we're all connected to the world via the World Wide Web initially is because of this stuff right here. Now we basically have massive lines and massive cables all throughout the world underneath the ocean that connects almost every country, at least every continent, and then from there it can be split and moved and so on and so forth. All right. So now that we have, because usually what Exponent and that's I guess the reason why you asked the question is because like most you would think of like the internet is not this physical thing, right? Right. So now we know that there is actually there is physical cables pretty much like connected to something, or basically connected to all countries in the real world, right? So what you would want to think is like, okay, well, wherever the physicality of this thing is, that's who really owns this thing. Not really. And let me see if I can find a picture of this too. We can find a deep sea internet cable picture. Let's see. I know that there's some like. All right. Well, I'll just show you guys all Google images. You guys can Google image along with me. All right. Here's like one picture. I'm assuming that's a cable. Here's a submarine cable. It shows you like how tedious it is. Let's see. Russian seabed warfare capabilities, undersea gas and oil, energy infrastructure, which we have that too, by the way, guys. Internet cables, military communication cables, which is funny because basically like the military has their own internet. Isn't that crazy? Basically, and guys, if you didn't know, the internet was created by the military. It was originally called DARPANET. I think this is a CGI picture. God bless it. How can we find a real picture? I know I've seen one before. I guess. I mean, this doesn't look like super deep down to me. I mean, they look like they're pretty close to like the surface. Venezuela mini sub, the Venezuela Navy, driver's hatch, pilot inside. I like how in this picture there's like a little tiny shark in the background. You better watch out for that shark, guys. I'm pretty sure it was bigger than this, dude. Because you'd want to think that like if there's like this cables line underneath the ground, I mean, obviously if one goes down, I'm sure there's many of them, so that like one goes down like by some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of goddamn sea monster, that it'd be okay. But that doesn't look very like sturdy to me, so I'm assuming it's more than that. Anyway, back to your question. Who actually owns the internet? I don't think there's a legitimate answer to that, homie. From my understanding, I'm pretty sure that the United States originally was one of the first ones to start laying those cables and laid a majority of them. But then I believe most of that's in the private sector now. So like, internet service providers, ISPs, like I'm sure they have custody over their own cables and they own those cables. But what is the internet? Is the internet the physicality of the cables owned by the companies that custody those said cables, the service providers? Or is the internet this digital realm that is a kind of like a separate dimension? Or is the internet just a second layer of like our third dimension that we can just like that we're communicating on based off of like electricity being transferred back and forth? I don't really know. So I really don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. So I think it's like hard to answer, especially because you can't really define the internet. Because I'm pretty sure I would venture to say some people would say the internet is like a digital realm, it's a whole different world. And I'd also venture to say that's people will say like, no, it's since we have cables and there's electricity, which is a physical thing running through those cables, like it's a real thing. But I don't know. That's a good question. That's something for everyone to pontificate on to other people, or to at least think about at night while you're laying awake in your bed. Harry says, "What's up, guys? Hello from the weight room. What is up, Harry? Good to see you." Sam says, to answer your question, Exponent, that Al Gore owns the internet. Clay Buster says, ICANN manages the domains. Otherwise, depends on where you are and who provides your service. Boom. Yep. Basically, the service providers, and I don't even know. I mean, obviously they own those cables, right? I don't even know if they own the quote unquote internet itself, because at that point, if you have all these different providers linking all these different cables together, and that just creates like the ability to like go back and forth between different places. I mean, like you could submit a message to somebody. Like I'm sitting here on this podcast right now, and I'm live streaming to you guys, right? And you might be in Japan, and you may be only getting like a quarter of a second delay from the time that I'm actually speaking into what you hear, because it's electricity. It just like travels through these cables. So like, is that message of communication under the custody of like, I don't know, Africa, when it's like sliding underneath those cables, and then like a 1/8 of a millisecond later is it then in the custody of Japan? Like I really don't even know. And then at the same time too, like who owns these oceans? I mean, nobody really owns an ocean, right? I'm sure there's people who like say that they own the ocean, but Harry says, I feel special knowing what brute force means. Good, Harry. Now you know, Harry. Claybuster, 10 times 3.92 times 10 to the 56 minutes to crack the SHA-256 hash using all of the mining power of the entire Bitcoin network. Does anybody want to do that math? That is indeed a big number. If you guys know anything about Claybuster, I can't even think. What's wrong with you guys? To the power of what is the algorithm called for to the power of exponent? I don't know, guys. I'm losing it. I'm getting old, guys. Getting old, can't do it anymore. You guys know anything about that? Like the smallest amount of numbers to like the power of 10 is a substantial number, right? It's like whatever 2 to the power of 10 is. I don't know at the top of my head. I have to do that with a calculator because I'm indeed not capable of doing that right now. But also multiply that times another 10 times 3.92, and boom, there you go. So number do indeed go up. Harry Psycho says, I'm feeling pretty infinite right now. Good. Harry, I hope everyone in here feels infinite right now. Sam says, you can write SHA-256 algorithm in JavaScript. I did not know that, but I'm not surprised. Nick says, love this stuff. Thank you, Nick. This stuff loves you as well. Sam says, if you hold a bunch of Bitcoin, eradicating an enemy is also good for you. Right. Because then basically like, I guess per se, like if you hold a bunch of it, then if you eradicate them, now what you have is more valuable. But what if you need to get more? That's the problem. Like, what if you in the generations of the future need to get more for like whatever time down the line? Maybe in that second, but I'm sure that could play into it too. Again, this is game theory, right? This is game theory. There's different things that could play out for this. Nick says, I like the concept, but will it be implemented in time before something else comes along, like what you said about quantum computing? Well, how long would it take for this to be implemented? Like, what would it take for this to be implemented? I mean, just being reasonable here. Like, what would it take? It is already being implemented. We're seeing like sovereign sovereign states essentially like not only fund mining in their countries, but also like calling this an acceptable currency in their countries as well. El Salvador, right? Some different like states of Brazil are talking about it. States in the United States are basically like there's several states in the U.S. that are like basically begging miners to come there and give them tax incentives because they kind of know this kind of stuff, right? So what would actually take this to all come in fruition? Well, I guess what that would require would look something like us to have a current system that I don't know, collapses, just doesn't work. Huh. Well, guys, that'll never happen anytime soon. Well, no, that's because we know the CBs. We know the CBs are doing a good job, making our money system, our monetary system. So obviously that wouldn't happen. But what else would it take? It would take people just say like, "Hey, yes, we want to do this. We want to do this." So, it could literally very well happen in like a matter of months. All right. It also could very well happen in a matter of years. Who knows, right? As far as quantum computing goes, and again, most likely, if this did happen, this would only be like a solution for like, who knows, like 100, 200, 300 years. All right. Maybe like several generations. And by then they would have something else bigger and better because that's just how humanity is. You stick a problem in front of an engineer, they're going to solve the problem. So if more problems come up, it would be solved inevitably. But the quantum computing thing, I mean, dude, if we have quantum computing that can just like breach into anything, by the time that actually is like a feasible thing to do, we already have cars that are like basically all electronic, right? We have everything. We have all this. We have the Internet of Things. Like there's devices everywhere. Like we would have a lot more to worry about than the monetary policy at that point because like basically, anyone could just be like, I'm just gonna like blow up everyone's computer in front of their face and just kill you all, right? Or like if the quantum computing is AI based, then like, it could just be like, hey, it could just immediately just start learning. And it's like, wait a second, humans are disgusting and they're awful for this planet. So we need to like capture them all and put them in pods and put them in this thing called the Matrix and then use their energy to like power our machines, right? I don't know, right? Sam says, once quantum computing comes along, we will be able to crack it. It's also a thing too. So like, again, the whole thing, like every time you put a problem in front of an engineer, they find a way to solve it, all right? And sometimes, originally, it's not the most conventional way to solve something, but they always solve problems. That's what engineers do, right, guys? So, and there's people working on that kind of stuff already. Cody Moose in the Who says, what movie was it where they used Shaw 1024? I don't know. I think pre-Wolverine, Hugh Jackman was in it. I don't know, dude. Cody, I don't really know anything about movies, man. And John Travolta, I really don't know, dude. That sounds interesting, though. Christian Shoto says, how does China control the internet access? They force through the law the ISPs to basically like block things from being allowed to the people that are using their internet service, right? Which they get around it. They do. You guys don't know this, but they get around. Like to them, it's like nothing. They just literally just use a VPN, right? And if one VPN gets deprecated, they go and get another one. Most of the good VPNs are not even made by Chinese software companies. They're made by like Ukrainian software, just like European software companies. We have I don't know where is NordVPN American. I don't know, but anyway, they can just use VPN. What you can't do is you can't quote unquote block the internet. What you can do is you can isolate yourself from the internet. And the same, since Bitcoin is the internet, you can't ban. I didn't mean block. I meant ban. You can't ban Bitcoin. You just basically block yourself and you ban yourself from Bitcoin because it's the same thing as the internet. T-Man Scott says, as a smart supercoder, can you explain what the dark web really is? The dark web is just the actual internet. Like the internet that we all see and that you guys use on a daily basis is like only like less than like 10% of the actual internet. The dark web is let's Would you like to look into that? Let us Google so we can get a stringent definition. Explain dark web. Explain the dark web. Here is a picture. All right, because I love pictures. Love pictures. They're better, easier to explain things to you guys. All right. Boom. Move this over here. All right. So let's look at this. Let us look at this. Where's the actual picture? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So here's the surface of the internet, the stuff that you, no, I do not give me notifications. No, thank you. They're the surface of the internet, right? And it's depicted through this like tip of the iceberg. Wikipedia, Google, Bing, like you can include like Facebook, YouTube, applications on your phone on there too, right? Then we have the deep web. All right, this is academic information, medical records, legal documents, scientific reports, subscription information, multilingual databases. So these are just like things that like you don't really have like direct access to based off of like just traveling around on Google. Like you have to have a direct link from somebody. Maybe they have their own server and they're giving you the information from the server. Conference proceedings, government resources, competitor websites, organization-specific repositories. And then what is the dark web? Illegal information, Tor encrypted sites, private communications, drug trafficking sites. Okay, this is a bad explanation. I'm mad at this. Now I'm mad at this image. Let's see. What about this? Man, I like how they're just like the dark web's like bad. In actuality, Scott, I'll just fuck Google. Fuck Google. Just kidding. I love Google because I know YouTube is ran off the Google platform, and like Google's really amazing. The quote unquote dark web is actually the real internet. That's actually the real internet. That isn't kind of like contained and controlled via your internet service provider, right? The reason you need certain browsers to get to the dark web is because a lot of them are on what's called .onion instead of .com. And I guess without trying to make this like super complicated, you can think of like, how does an onion work? You peel a layer and a layer and a layer, right? In order to get access to like code and the websites in general, they're kind of like let's just say that they're a little bit more like hidden per se. I don't know if you know anything about like Tor protocols or anything like that, but most of them are on the Tor network, and that's kind of like really how some people think the internet should be, like not just based off of like servers from big companies, mainstream companies, and entities and stuff like that. Let's see who else. What else? Who's next? Lay it on me, fellas. Lay it on me. Cody Moose says. Clay says Swordfish is the answer in the movie. Halle Berry was also in the movie. Dude, how many people were in this movie? Is fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie too? Shit. What was it called? Dude, I don't know. Don't ask me. Christian Soto. Clay wants you to know they do it via firewalls. They can filter all the access points to the network outside China. They funnel traffic to specific core routers and to get to firewalls. Yep. Basically, like they just like prevent it from coming in, right? Do y'all remember when teachers would say you won't be able to take a calculator with you anywhere? Ha! I do. That's funny. Sam says, couldn't quantum computers create even more impenetrable algorithms? Yeah, right. I mean, that would be like a benefit of like a quantum computing if that's like something that it was going to be like designed to do, right? I would say so. Isaac Thurston. That's a strong name, my friend. Isaac Thurston. That is a strong name. First time viewer. Quick question: what is a good computer or a laptop to learn how to code? Also, awesome topic I just described. I mean, if I answer this question, people are going to get mad at me, but you want, to be honest with you, Isaac, unless you're doing like specifically .NET programming, you most likely want to be using something that's like Linux based or Unix based operating system. And the easiest thing in my opinion, as far as hardware goes, best quality thing is anything Macintosh. So like just the cheapest Macintosh that you can get would work perfectly fine. Other than that, you don't really need like anything. I mean, you can do basic programming on like a Windows machine too, but like the amount that you can actually do because it's not Unix based operating system is a little bit less than. But honestly, dude, like you can program on like a vending machine's like the amount of power like a vending machine makes nowadays. If you want something cheap, check out a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi, it's like under $100, and it just like a tiny little, like basically tiny little computer. It doesn't come with anything. You gotta put an operating system on it, so you could just install some version of like Linux on it, plug it into a computer. Sorry, plug it into a monitor and a keyboard and all this and that, and get some code done. Clay also says we were using the programmable TI calculators. Is cool. Also, I have been building networks since 1980s. Yes, Claybuster is indeed a network guru in here. Modern life dating in the hoose. Give me Fauci juice or give me death. Yep. Yeah, I love Fauci juice so much. Like, it's my I wake up in the morning, guys, and I just like say to myself, I can't wait to put more Fauci juice inside me. I love it very much. Who else? I was military and used DARPANET. Yeah, that's right. DARPANET. Yep. Use the first email software written by ADM John Poindexter. Oh, Mr. Poindexter. It's funny because now people, like, his name has literally become a meme. Don't be such a Poindexter. Met him a few times. That's pretty sick. Is YouTube deleting triple parentheses comments now? No way. Did you try to make a triple parentheses comment and delete it? All kinds of weird stuff's been happening, dude. Like, I'll see people comment on my videos and like the comments just like aren't there. And then I'll have someone like re-comment and be like, hey, my comment's gone. Did you delete it? I'm like, no. And every time I have like an influx of subscribers, like they just like some of like I'll gain like 10 subs and like 2 of them will unsubscribe, which is, I've noticed it in that exact pattern. It's usually like a percent of a new subscribers I have just basically unsubscribe like the next day, which, hey, maybe they hate me, maybe they hate a commentator, or maybe it's I don't know, guys. Maybe it's the CBs. Who knows? Download on your router and find out. Satoshi confirmed. Did you see mine, Cody? The comment? No, I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any triple parentheses comments. Antonio says, can't you also do it through torrent browsers? Yeah, that's what it is. Nope, don't see it. Saw that one too. I saw that. Give me parentheses or give me death. I made a bunch of parentheses comments. I haven't seen any parentheses comments. You guys are gonna get me wrecked. John, I can't highlight that other comment. Dude, they are gone. What the hell? Are they, guys? That's funny. That's funny. I haven't seen any of them. I don't know. Missed the YouTube 2015. What about YouTube 2007, guys? There was like, you could just like go on there, and instead of like them recommending you, like, let's say you didn't log into an account and it didn't have like they didn't use an algorithm to like to decide what they want to recommend for you. You just discover all kinds of like really cool and random shit, right? Like just random organic discovery is no longer a thing anymore. Pablo says, hello, Uncle ELP, looking shiny as usual. Thank you, Pablo. I did indeed put a face cream on immediately before I came to the stream. Here, let me do this, guys. If I do this, if I like make the ambiance a little bit darker in here, if I turn this down. How about that, fellas? We get a little bit more of a night vibe. Good. Isaac, thanks for the advice. You're welcome, my friend. You're welcome. All right. So what we were talking about earlier, essentially, Bitcoin being what it is, if that actually came to fruition, since it is software and it's non-biased, it's software, right? Software doesn't have fucking emotion, all right? Even if you programmed software to have emotion, it wouldn't be true, quote unquote, organic emotion in the way that we think of emotion today, because it would be programmable, right? So you could just immediately change it, right? You could just immediately change it with code. Because of that, it's non-biased. It doesn't care. Doesn't have opinion. It's not opinionated. So Bitcoin, it doesn't care. All right. None of these protocols care. Smart contracts don't care if you have an attitude with them. In fact, you'll never have an attitude with a smart contract because you won't need to, because it's code, and it's either gonna like you're gonna have a contractual agreement, you're gonna agree into it, you're gonna have an internet handshake, all right, and the code is gonna decide, does it meet this criteria? If so, all right, release the funds. If not, you're not gonna get paid, right? Takes all the emotion out of it, right? So in that way, Bitcoin doesn't care. Another way that we could say that Bitcoin doesn't care is it doesn't care who you send it to. It doesn't care what you're using it for. Bitcoin can be used for good things and perfectly legal things. Bitcoin can be used for bad things and illegal things, right? So can cash. Okay. But if you have another sort of like, protocol, maybe like some sort of like application that you can send money to people, and it just, for whatever reason, your bank just like doesn't want to allow X amount to go somewhere or to some person, because that person just did something that someone disagreed with, they can stop you. All right. If we take that in consideration, all these things, and there's so much more. You guys have seen my channel a bunch of times. Like, you see me talk about this kind of stuff over and over and over again. So I'm not going to sit here and like waste all the time and just be like, every single thing that the orange coin does. But if you take that in consideration, and then you go back to the beginning of the stream when I was talking about the internet and how the internet was like literally like we can't like I could function without a phone. Like, I wouldn't be able to do work. Literally, I wouldn't be able to do work. I wouldn't be able to do like almost anything. I wouldn't be able to like manage my bank. I wouldn't be able to manage like almost anything, right? And if you apply that same process of thinking to saying like this actually has the potential to be a worldwide revolution that could be so profoundly changing on humanity that like in 10, 20 years, people aren't even going to think about like, oh, hey, that's that thing that I wouldn't be able to live without, right? If that were actually to happen, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I think that whether it's what we have right now or whether it's whatever comes tomorrow or the next day, or even if it's like, I don't know, Shiba Inu token becomes the world settlement layer of payments and wealth, then it would be a drastic improvement over what we have right now. All right. I think people are really starting to realize, I think like normal people are really starting to realize, guys, that like something's not right. Something's not right with what's going on. Not with just like the financial system, right? Although I believe, my personal belief, and you guys can call me crazy, whatever the fuck you want, my personal belief this is all primarily driven by the financial system via a nefarious manner. But let's say that's not the case. People are starting to realize something is fucking up. People are starting to like realize things just don't make sense. And these are people that have just accepted everything that they're being told as the truth all their lives, and it's not even a question, right? Surprise, we actually do live in a reality where like we are actually truly responsible for our lives and ourselves and the outcome of our lives, not the big daddy gov or the Biden USD airdrops, right? So, yeah, newsflash that you might have to take care of yourself, all right, guys. But people are starting to wake up. People are starting to see that something's not right. I'm what else I'm noticing, guys? I'm starting to notice that a lot of like realtors, and I'm an ex landlord. Sorry, not realtors. I'm an ex landlord. A lot of landlords and property owners are starting. They're pretty much every property owner I know in my building has the building listed for the sale. Which is funny because now they're putting too much liquidity on the market, and no one's even like looking at these houses except for like investors. And the prices are like way high up, and the value of what they're being asked for, even with inflation, is not worth it. And I think people are starting to realize that. People are starting to realize like, oh, you can't pay, like a renter doesn't have to pay me money right now if I'm renting from them. Like the fuck, that makes no sense, right? Makes no sense at all. People are starting to wake up, guys. People are starting to wake up slowly but surely. And I just think this, guys, I think that obviously I think that like me being a software engineer, I think that software is fucking amazing. The fact that we can solve problems just using our brains and a computer literally can solve almost any problem you can think of without having to need anything other than just electricity. No raw materials, period. That's fucking amazing. And so I really do believe that we're going to continue to solve problems for humanity like we have, and just to make life easier and better, because that is the progression of mankind. But I believe that the more that happens, the more people are going to like reach this like precipice of wow, that doesn't make sense the way that we do it that way. Like maybe we should do it. Wait a second, why are we doing it that way? That makes no fucking sense. Wait, so you're telling me the only reason we're doing it that way is because like some like stupid bureaucratic process that just we're being forced upon us, right? And I think the more, and it's starting to come at like an exponential rate now. I think next month, 2 times the amount of people will start realizing this. The next month, another 2 times, another 2x. YouTube was made by a man named Chad. He sold it to Google and betas ruined it. Was it really made by a man named Chad? That's funny. Straight up beheading from Terry on there. 2007, 2015 was prime YouTube. Yeah, it was good days. Christian says, I remember when YouTube had a recently uploaded tab. You'd see everything there. Yep. The anti-bullying movement ruined everything on a different planet, theoretically, an affiliate video game. Yeah. Yes. When airdrop for what? The Orange Man utility token? We could do it whatever, man. Whenever you want to do it. Putting experimental. Oh, God. I shouldn't show that comment. God damn it, Sam. Pablo said, I only love Bitcoin for what it is, nothing else. Hashtag pay my rent with happy? Pay my rent with HAPY? Oh, pay my rent with APY. Oh, yeah, exactly. You got to love what it is, guys. You don't have to love it because it's orange. You know, you just got to love what it is. Just be accepting, guys. Chris Garcia in the house. Welcome, my friend. The precipice of wow is definitely a thing, my man. The precipice of wow. What do you mean by that? Should I Google that? Let's see. Oh. Items of World of Warcraft. Maybe you meant proof of work. POW, not wow. I don't know. 100 emoji. Clay says the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, rules the economics of the world. You know, in a video game. Yeah, in a video game, of course. Obviously, guys. Oh, wow. My bad, dude. Yeah, I don't even remember saying that, man. Have to use a euphemism. Yeah, you gotta be careful, guys. Sam almost set you up for a self rug. Yeah, Sam, be careful, bro. There was a time in YouTube you could record a video response to a video and it would show up below the video on the channel. There was a time in YouTube where you could record a video response to a video and it show what? Really? I do not remember that time. Your words, bro. Yeah, I don't remember saying that. Oh shit, I forgot. I forgot about that, Nick. LMAO. You said we approach the precipice of wow. I don't remember saying wow, but what I mean is, I think we're talking about literally just now. I don't remember what the fuck I was talking about, dude. I remember completely honestly, I don't remember. As we continue to go through what the fuck is going on right now, people will reach the precipice of wow. Just kidding. People reach the precipice of realization and waking up. I guess that's what I meant to say. Did I say wow? Waking up. And I think also on that topic, guys, I think each person, there's like a different level like that it's going to take for them to like realize like what we got going on in the world right now. Just like it's inefficient, it's illogical, and it doesn't make sense, right? Like any kind of bureaucratic process that doesn't make any fucking. I mean, there's so many of them, guys. There's so fucking many. Why do we have all these like processes and rules and regulations where you have to sign papers when they can just basically be ignored? Like most of people ignore a lot of that shit all the time, and it costs money and it costs time. We could just, I don't know. If we're talking about signing papers, that's a contractual agreement. Maybe we could just make a smart contract in code, and either the code checks, does it meet the criteria or not? And if it does, all right, great. Everyone's going to get what they want. If not, sorry, it doesn't work. No emotion, right? No crying, no fighting, no gaslighting, no manipulation between party to party. It's just code, right? We can remove so many different people, requirements people have to be in the physicality that, and they also, that requires like time, money, and energy too, and they could just be going doing other things. But also on that too, like what I mean also is I believe some people are just going to take, it's going to take them a little bit more to get there, to reach the precipice. Some people already understood this kind of stuff when they were growing up, and things didn't turn out like the way that they wanted because they're doing what they were told, right? Some people I think are going to realize that when they're like, oh, if you guys just do this one last thing, you can do what you want, and then they're like, wait a second, I know we said that was the last thing, but now you got to do 2 more things. I think some people are going to realize it when that happened. I think some people are going to realize when they're like, I go to the grocery store and $100 doesn't get me very far anymore, right? Some people are going to realize when it's time to pay rent and the rent has to go up, that they're just simply don't have an extra $2,000 a month to pay for that rent, because the new property owner, the new landlord, they have an exorbitant amount of debt that shouldn't be a fair value for that house, and thus they have to pay off that debt. They have to increase the rent, or whatever else could happen, man. But I think more and more and more people the threshold continues to get reached, and people are gonna like come there. Excuse me, Christian says, Nick, I thought that was awesome, and I never found out why it was removed. I don't know. And I said to myself, 100%. Ha ha ha. Sam says, new untested oil with chunks of metal in it equals good. Petroleum base, well-tested oil, bad. Right. Car run better. LMA, you good? Thanks, dude. Thanks. Christian Soto says, LOL too. Long time ago, it was how people would go viral. Oh, that's crazy. Exactly. Yeah. Yes, we are being awakened. Yes, sir. Yep. All right, guys. I love you. I'm going to pull the rug. Like, comment, subscribe. If you guys do have an idea of something you want me to talk about, leave a comment. And I say this every time, but I think you should probably go without saying. Something you want me to talk about, someone you want me to talk with, and it's not about like something incredibly stupid, leave a comment. All right? We'll consider it. Night, guys.